Now here's something you don't see every day. It's CTR's replica of a Sarmatian thumb ring, or at least a ring that was reportedly found in a Sarmatian archaeological context, with an estimated date of around the 1st century AD. First, some background. The Sarmatians were an ancient Iranian society that existed in what is now the Ukraine and Russia. Their culture is closely associated with that of the nomadic and warlike Scythians, and as such, the Sarmatians are reputed to have been formidable mounted archers. For example, during his exile near the Black Sea, the Roman poet Ovid described how greater hordes of Sarmati and Getae come and go upon their horses. Among them there is not one who does not bear quiver and bow, and darts yellow with viper's gall. Here there is no wealth of books for my nurture and stimulation. Instead, the twang of bowstrings and the rattle of arms. Shall I forget my country's customs, be seduced by indigenous practices, and learn to bend a Sarmatian bow? The historian Pausanias remarked how some Sarmatians apparently used bone arrowheads, possibly due to the scarcity of metal on the steppes. Also, there is a reference to them lassoing enemies from horseback, the cowboys of the wild, wild East. The so-called Sarmatian thumb ring was reported in a Ukrainian archaeological journal. It's what I would call a sear ring. The string is supported on a small lip or ledge, and the majority, if not all, of the pressure is supported by the thumb knuckle. The original thumb ring is made of bronze, and it's a bit of an oddball. Apart from the thin lip and the short, aggressively angled tongue, its most noticeable feature is a small ring or loop on the back of the band. Ostensibly, this was used for a very thin lanyard or strap. Given that only one of these rings has ever been found, it's impossible to say if it was a widespread design or if this was just a one-off creation made for a single person who was possibly in the habit of losing thumb rings. For the CTR interpretation, I installed a leather kulak, as was used on many rings from later centuries. I have no idea if the original ring was used with an insert. It's certainly possible to do without it, but they do make things quite a bit more comfortable. I also made a lanyard for it out of black nylon. It worked really well for attaching the ring to my belt for safekeeping. But importantly, I also found that when the lanyard was arranged a certain way around the wrist, it helped to relieve some of the pressure on the thumb knuckle while drawing the bow. This may have played a role in comfortably pulling a heavy draw weight. It also gave a little peace of mind for when my hand got slippery with sweat, ensuring that the ring could never slip off. Interestingly, there are ancient Chinese thumb rings that appear to have also made use of the lanyard concept. Given the widespread nature of the nomadic Iranian cultures, it's interesting to speculate on the ideas that could have journeyed from one end of the steppe highway to another. CTR has made the ring's lip about the same dimensions as that of their Ottoman, Byzantine, and Turkish models. It's a good width for my modern bowstrings, and with practice, gives a very clean release. As with the original, the angle of the tongue is extremely aggressive, and as such, this is a slightly tricky and not very forgiving ring to use. It takes practice to hold the thumb at exactly the right angle, pointed more forwards than sideways. At least for me, with my medium-sized hands and short thumbs, this makes it somewhat difficult to get enough of my thumb to the opposite side of the string, where I can get enough purchase on it with the index finger. But it's certainly not impossible, and of course, not everyone will have this problem. The shortness of the tongue may put some people off. At least for me, the tip of the tongue digs slightly into my thumb pad, though I don't notice it while actually shooting. Some archers might also be afraid that the tip of their thumb will be struck by the bowstring. But thankfully, I did not have that happen to me, and both historical manuals and my personal experience seem to indicate that such an injury is a basic form fault, resulting from too much tension in the thumb. I would say that the CTR Sarmatian ring will probably appeal the most to people who are really interested in historical accuracy and reconstruction, as well as those who are up for a really fun challenge. The lanyard concept is very interesting for how it relieves pressure off the thumb knuckle, and I am honestly a little surprised that the idea is not utilized more often. And as with the original Sarmatian ring, it may be useful for people who are slightly forgetful and need a good way to prevent their thumb rings from falling through holes in their pocket.